Hi, welcome. I'm Cadet Inspector Muhammad Zaim, and today we are going to find out more about design thinking. Do you have your cadet manuals ready to take down notes? This is the scope that we will be covering for this lecture. Firstly, on what exactly is design thinking? Next, the elements of design thinking, and lastly, the theory behind design thinking. Now, what is design thinking? Design thinking is a methodology used by designers to solve complex problems and find desirable solutions to solve the problem. This methodology is based upon logic, imagination, intuition, and systematic reasoning. Design thinking explores possibilities of what could be and to create desired outcomes that benefit the end user. Throughout the design thinking process, we should first do research into the area that we are working on and study materials and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. This will clear any uncertainty and gives you a better focus. Then, we develop the concept or prototype and it leads to an innovation, which may be a new method, idea, or product. The mindset of design thinking is not problem-focused, it's solution-focused and action-oriented. That being said, we should have the end goal in mind when we are thinking of the solution. What do we want to achieve? What is the solution that we have in mind? What is our approach towards achieving the solution? It involves both analysis and imagination. We need to analyze what are the possible solutions and use our imagination to think out of the norm, to think creatively of the solution, instead of doing what everyone else will be doing as a norm. This diagram shows the 5 steps in design thinking that we will be going through in the next few slides. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. What is empathy? Empathy is a centerpiece of a human-centered design process. Empathy is the work you do to understand people within the context of your design challenge. We have to communicate with people so that we know how they feel. We need to take this into account for our solutions. Firstly, to empathize, we need to observe. View others and their behavior in the context of their lives. As much as possible, do observations in relevant contexts in addition to interviews. Some of the most powerful realizations come from noticing a disconnection between what someone says and what he does. Secondly, engage. This can be done through interviewing the user. It can be a casual chat to better engage the user. Before the interview, you should prepare some questions you'd like to ask, but expect to let the conversation deviate from them. Lastly, watch and listen. Certainly, you can and should combine observation and engagement. Ask someone to show you how they complete a task. Have them physically go through the steps and talk you through why they are doing what they do. Ask them to vocalize what's going through their mind as they perform a task or interact with an object. Next, define. The define mode of the design process is all about bringing clarity and focus to the design space. It is your chance and responsibility as a design thinker to think the challenge that you are taking on, based on what you have learned about your user and the context. The define mode is critical to the design process because it results in your point of view, the clear expressions of the problem you are striving to address. More importantly, your point of view defines the right challenge to address, based on a new understanding of people and the problem. What is the ideate mode? Ideate is a mode of the design process in which you concentrate on idea generation. Mentally, it represents a process of going wide in terms of concepts and outcomes. You ideate in order to transition from identifying problems to creating solutions for your users. Ideation is your chance to combine the understanding you have of the problem space and people you are designing for with your imagination to generate solution concepts. Particularly, early in the design project, ideation is about pushing for a widest possible range of ideas from which you can select, not simply finding a single best solution. You ideate by combining your conscious and unconscious mind and rational thoughts with imagination. For example, in a brainstorm, you leverage the synergy of the group to reach new ideas by building on others' ideas. Adding constraints Surrounding yourself with inspiring related materials and embracing misunderstanding all allow you to reach further than you could by simply thinking about a problem. What is a prototype mode? A prototype is a preliminary version of your idea. The prototype mode is the iterative generation of artifacts intended to answer questions that get you closer to your final solution. A prototype can be anything that a user can interact with, be it a wall of post-it notes, a gadget you put together, a role-playing activity, or even a storyboard. Ideally, you bias towards something a user can experience. What is the test mode? The test mode is when you solicit feedback about a prototype you have created from your users and have another opportunity to gain empathy for the people you are designing for. To test your product or solution, you should, firstly, show them. Don't tell. Put your prototype in the user's hand, or your user within an experience, and don't explain everything yet. Let your tester interpret the prototype. Watch how they use or misuse what you have given them, and how they handle and interact with it. Then, listen to what they say about it, and the questions they have. Secondly, create experiences. Create your prototypes and test them in a way that feels like an experience that your user is reacting to, rather than an explanation that your user is evaluating. Lastly, ask users to compare. Bringing multiple prototypes to the field to test gives users a basis for comparison, and comparisons often reveal latent needs. Design thinking is a never-ending process. Once a solution is implemented, it will be evaluated again to find any problems, and the process repeats itself again. It starts with problem finding, where you identify the issue which leads to solution finding. Once solutions are thought of, solution selection will choose which of it is the best solution to be implemented and solve the problem. When the solution is implemented, it will be evaluated on its effectiveness, where other problems may surface up, and hence repeating the process. In conclusion, the 5 steps of design thinking taught us how to break down our thinking process to understand who is affected and what is the issue. Brainstorm the possibilities to solve the issue. Identify which solutions works best and then to test it out for its effectiveness. We have come to the end of design thinking lecture. We hope you have gained more insight to design thinking. Should you have any questions pertaining to this lecture, feel free to approach any of your cadet inspectors. Thank you.